Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, we'll be talking about our Outdoor Dining Assistance Program, and we'll answer questions specifically related to the two different programs we're offering currently from Economic Development. That includes the Forgivable Loan Assistance Program for restaurants, as well as the In-House Design Assistance Program. This meeting will be recorded, and so if there are folks who are not able to join us, please share this with them. We'll make this slide deck and the recording available on our website. All of our information on outdoor dining currently for both the application program as well as assistance for finding a design professional can be found at somervillema.gov/outdoor dining. You'll find a directory of design professionals, the FAQs for questions about the program, as well as the process guidelines and documents needed for applying for an outdoor dining license. The outdoor dining license is not currently available at this time. It's being worked on as we speak, and we will be having more conversations specifically with businesses likely next week. So stay tuned for an announcement about what the date is for that webinar that we'll get into, the differences of requirements between existing outdoor dining holders as well as those that had temporary outdoor seating spaces. So let me hop into our presentation and get into presentation mode. Hold on, bear with me, folks. Here we go. Okay, so this is being recorded. We are using Zoom. Feel free to submit questions in the chat. If we're a fairly small group, we'll take questions as we go. And so if you do have a question, you can raise your hand. You want to say it, or you're welcome to put it in the chat. And like I mentioned, we are recording this and we'll post this on the webpage after. So the agenda today is really, it's again, focused on the assistance program. We'll talk about in-house design assistance and then our Forgivable Loan Assistance Program, and have time for Q&A. Feel free to ask questions during when it's convenient throughout the presentation. So the guiding document for the conversation today is the Outdoor Dining Assistance Program guidelines. I took just a screenshot of the page. This is available on our website currently. And Ted, I don't know if you're able to link that in the chat for folks who may not have seen it already.
Okay.
That would be great. And information about applying for an outdoor dining license will be available at somervillema.gov/citizenserve. And again, it's not available currently, but will be very soon. So for in-house design assistance, the two different programs that we're offering, again, are the Forgivable Loan Assistance and the in-house design assistance. The in-house design assistance is in kind. It is a technical assistance program. We have contracted with a few design professionals in Somerville who have familiarity with outdoor dining and designing outdoor seating for restaurants. So we're excited to have that offered. The requirements to be able to be eligible for that are that you must not have held an outdoor dining license in 2020 or 2021. So that would mean that, for folks we're really targeting this towards businesses that have had a significant challenge with getting outdoor dining up and running at all, whether it's been from a lack of capital or challenges with the permitting process, that these funds and this assistance is specifically geared towards the folks who have had the biggest challenges. That being said, if there are instances where businesses maybe still had a significant challenge getting their license in the beginning, and it took them a significant time and were not really able to take advantage of outdoor dining in the previous years, we welcome to see that application. And it may require additional paperwork, but we're willing to work with you. For the Forgivable Loan Reimbursement Program, the eligibility requirements are that you must be a brick and mortar restaurant. You must be an outdoor dining license holder in 2022. You must be Somerville based and in good standing with the city. And then that you submit a complete application before September 1st. So, fairly straightforward. This is an outdoor dining assistance program. So retailers, sole proprietors are not eligible. So speaking to that, sole proprietors without a brick and mortar location, unfortunately, are ineligible. Businesses with past tax liabilities, tax liens, or who have filed for bankruptcy, as well as franchises or regional or national chains who own 3 or more franchises. Similarly, if you've received financial assistance from the city of Somerville in the past 2 years and you haven't been forgiven for any of those assistance, for any of those forgivable loans, that would be something that would keep you from getting this assistance as well. So we want to make sure we can get the documentation needed to forgive your previous rounds of funding from the city before providing an additional round of city assistance. So for the use of these funds, you can do this to spend on, the funds must have been incurred after March 10th, 2022. So we're not able to provide assistance or reimbursement towards expenses that have already been incurred in 2020 or 2021. But there's still a significant amount of ways to utilize these funds, including towards the design of an outdoor space. So if you hire an architect, and depending on what that architect assists you with, if they are also doing permitting, that would be an eligible expense. The construction costs, if you hire a general contractor, or construction materials, if you're doing it yourself, we would just want to make sure we see receipts for those items. Similarly, outdoor furniture, planters, the new program will require some ADA accessibility requirements, and some of that requires that furniture in your outdoor seating area be ADA compliant. So purchasing of those types of furniture would be an eligible expense. Likewise, if you had a ramp or a additional ADA accessibility requirements would be a good fit for the use of funds. And finally, storage costs. So if you've been storing your outdoor dining and furniture over the winter and have some items that you're still paying, or you're paying for that, and those have been incurred after March 10th, that would be an eligible expense. If you're renting a U-Haul to move that stuff from your storage facility back to your restaurant, that would be an eligible expense as well. So there's a lot of ways to do it, as long as it's tied towards outdoor dining and implementation of outdoor dining. Planters are another thing I listed here. So if you have questions prior to making the spend or submitting an application, please feel free to do so, to reach out to us. So the timeline for this program, again, as of March 10th, the assistance program became available. It will, afterwards, we're anticipating to open outdoor seating to begin on April 1st. And then the deadline to apply for this program for assistance is September 1st. So there's a large window there for folks to be able to work through the permitting process, to hopefully incur expenses related to outdoor dining, and then for folks to then complete an application and get reimbursed. I'll stop there. Did you guys have any questions on what I just shared on the front end? Thanks, Ted, for posting that in the chat. Okay. If not, I'm gonna keep it rolling. So the application process, again, this is specifically for the assistance program. So in-house design professional. So once you submit an application online, members of OSPCD staff will review the application, confirm eligibility. There may be a back and forth to, if there's an extenuating circumstance. But generally, if the business is eligible, we would then assign a design professional to work alongside with the business. That would look like, ideally, it would be two 1-hour meetings with, that you would have with the design consultant to come up with the design, as well as to be able to, for the design consultant to create those drawings for what you're anticipating. So you guys would meet to be able to put together the licensing documentation. Once you get that documentation, and you would then move forward with applying for a license through CitizenServe, that would be done on your own. That's not something that's covered inside in this program. The focus of this program is only on the creating the documentation needed for a successful outdoor dining license to be granted. That's not to say that you're not able to contract with a design professional or a permitting expediter outside of this program, which also would be eligible for reimbursement through our other program for outdoor dining assistance. But just to make that clear, that this is really only for creating those documents. So once after the license is granted and the seating is approved, the applicant would follow the reimbursement procedure for, am I saying that right? Oh yeah, so yeah, they wouldn't, the business wouldn't need to spend any of their own money for that. However, the cost that would be associated with working with an in-house design professional would be deducted from the total amount that you could receive in the financial assistance program. So for example, if the work that you spent with a design professional costs $2,500 that the city is covering and would pay upfront, then the maximum amount of assistance that you would be able to receive in the reimbursement fund is $7,500. So that's just one thing to consider as well. So that's, I just spoke to that here. Getting assigned to a design professional may take up to 6 weeks. It's all going to depend on the availability of our consultants. This is certainly a busy time. As you know, many other communities are releasing their outdoor dining assistance or outdoor dining programs. And so it's a challenge to find design professionals who are available. We will do our best to connect you prior to 6 weeks, but just to let it be known that it could take up to 6 weeks just to get started. And so you may be looking at having a permitted outdoor seating set up in June or July, just to set expectations properly for that. And then businesses that are ineligible for in-house design assistance, they're still able to review the design professional firms available. We do have a list of certified design professionals on our website. If there are design professionals that you all know and they are interested in getting listed on our directory, there's a form as well out on the tab there for somervillema.gov/outdoor dining. Moving over to the forgivable loan reimbursement. So after outdoor dining license is granted and is set up, the business would apply for an outdoor assistance for the outdoor dining assistance program. So this really is a reimbursement loan. So we want to communicate that the submittal documentation and the requirements that you'll need so that you can have a kind of streamlined process to be able to get reimbursed and to have your funds move through the process quickly. So when you do submit, you'll have, you'll include the documents that we're asking for. It includes a W-9, receipts and whatnot. I have another slide on that, so we'll look into that in a sec. But a loan agreement, similar to our previous rounds of assistance, we'd create a loan agreement that would be sent to the business owner for them to sign. The business owner would then return the loan agreement signed and begin a multi-departmental review, which is standard for all of the assistance programs that we've provided in the past. It gets reviewed by our law department, eventually signed by the mayor, as well as through purchasing and our finance team before it gets mailed out through the Treasury. So that process between getting it reviewed by each department and then a check getting mailed out, that can take up to 6 to 8 weeks. Once the applicant meets all the program requirements detailed in the loan agreement, a loan agreement discharge letter would then be sent and the loan would be forgiven. So ideally, we are able to collect the documentation at the point of the application process so that you're able to provide, proof of eligible expenses and the corresponding documentation, a contract with the architect or whatnot, so that we know exactly how much we're providing to the business, as well as, that these expenses align with expenses for outdoor dining, that we're able to forgive the loan at the same time to avoid the back and forth. So for submittal documentation, we'll require a W-9. That's pretty standard. Many of you have already probably submitted a W-9. And if you haven't received a loan agreement or a loan from the city, it's likely that we may need to get an updated W-9. If you have already submitted one, don't worry about it. It's likely that we won't need to follow up with getting an updated one. If any of your information has changed, though, please submit a new one. And then certificate of authority for LLC or corporations. That's a form that's available again on our website. If you're a corporation or an LLC, you'll fill out the corresponding form. And then, similar to our other programs, proof of payment documentation. So that would be, a canceled check from your bank statement, your business bank statement, or a detailed credit card statement. It's really helpful for us if you're able to highlight what the things that we should be looking at for your credit card statement or for your bank statement, so that it's clear. It'll save us time on the review side, and we'll be able to get a response to you on if there's any additional documentation that we need. And so that's for proof of payment documentation. On the other end, the corresponding documents, we'd want to see a signed contract agreement, an invoice with a design professional or contractor, so that it's clear to us that the money that you're spending or paying for a design professional is going to is legitimate, and we have a paper trail for that. That's really something that we'll need for us to be able to forgive the loan. So please make sure to work with your contractor or with your design professional for them to provide you with something in writing that details what the nature of the work is. And then the receipts. If you're going to Home Depot to buy a lot of 2x4s or purchasing planners from Ricky's, make sure you grab a receipt. That's going to be something will be very useful, and hopefully we'll be able to make it easy to determine the loan amount for you. This is something that may be helpful. Again, what should be included on a contract? So it should include the name and contact information of both parties, the address of the location, the detailed scope of work would be helpful, and the cost that you're being charged. It should have a total cost. The scope of work should also be itemized if possible. That would just be helpful in case there are multiple payments that are made. We could see the breakdown, but we'll be looking for a document that has a total cost and then the corresponding proof of payment that matches that cost. If there's any discrepancy there, it would need to be explained in writing and confirmed by both parties. So, as best as you can, we'll really want to see, the details of what you're paying for in a contract with a general contractor or a design consultant. Requirements for proper licenses, permits, and insurance. So if you're needing to take out additional insurance, that would be something that we would cover in this. These are additional things to include in the contract template. to be specific on what, what the work covers, these are just good notes to have. If there are attachments of the blueprints or design, also good to have, not required, but just, stuff that may be useful, and make sure that it's signed by both parties. I'll, with the caveat that I'm not a lawyer, if you have questions about what, a fair and great contract should look like, you should contact a lawyer about that. This information is really just what the city will be looking for on the reimbursement side. It is not meant to be guidance for, creating a legal contract with a design professional that will protect you in any particular way. So certainly refer to or contact someone, a lawyer to get more guidance on that. Okay. So that's what I got, guys. I'm happy to open it up now for questions. I see, Michael, your hand is up. I was just checking the chat.
Sure.
And let's see. So I see Ted, thank you for responding to that. So it looks like, yeah, we're all up to date with, if you have a design that was approved last year, do you need to go through the design process again? So Jim, yeah, this event really is for just specifically to outdoor dining assistance. I mentioned earlier, we will be providing another space similar to this next week on, with the permitting folks on who will need to be, who needs to reapply, and then who may, just need to submit documents at a later time. But I'm not going to be able to answer those questions specifically, and I don't want to give you the wrong answer. So those are, things that are currently being worked out, and I'm hopeful to have more information to share with you guys on Monday or Tuesday next week is the hope. Okay. So yeah, no problem. So yeah, Michael, do you want to ask your question? I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat currently.
Sure, thank you. First of all, thank you for hosting this. I really appreciate it. It's really informative, and it really helps the small businesses, especially through the application process and getting more info. I guess I'm just looking for a little more clarification on the $10,000 loan, forgivable loan. It sounds to me like there's two ways that you can go about this, where you can either apply to get the loan first and then use that loan and then submit documentation that you use the funds appropriately to have it forgiven. And then the other way is that you could use the funds if you have the funds and then apply to get those funds reimbursed. Is that correct?
So the latter example that you listed is certainly the preferred method. Ideally, we're able to, again, this doesn't work for everyone, and we acknowledge that. We want to work with anyone who for upfronting the cost and waiting the 3 months that it may take for the city to reimburse someone. If that is an impediment to being able to participate in outdoor dining, then we're happy to work with that business to assist them, and provide those funds up front, as long as it's known that that loan will not be forgiven until we have proof of payment documentation for that those funds were used towards outdoor dining.
That's great to hear. On that note, if a business were to take the first option where they apply for, if they couldn't afford to have the funds to start the process, and they would take the option where the city provides the funds first, if the total amount were to be less than $10,000, would that mean that they would need to pay whatever money is left over?
Yes. Yep. This is, yeah. Any funds that, that would be part of there'd be additional documentation required for a business that is unable to, who would be, for which upfronting the cost would be an impediment. And so we're looking at those situations probably on a case-to-case basis, but, we would need to make the case that, for it not be us providing this funding upfront, that this business would not be able to participate, and then determining an amount that aligns with what their anticipated costs are, based on maybe we're getting estimates or just planning some more to have a better idea of what that amount will be. And if we're off and we provide $8,000 and the business only used $5,000, we would expect to get that $3,000 back from the business.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions regarding our outdoor dining, either in-house design assistance or forgivable loan program?
I have a question.
Sure.
Did a restaurant, let's say they spent $5,000, and then some costs occurred over the length of the summer that were another like 2,000, so 7,000 total. Can they wait until like August to submit that? So there's no worry about the funds necessarily running out if you wait till the end of the summer.
Oh, yeah, great question. Yeah, no. And that makes sense too, if you're thinking that you will incur additional expenses throughout the year and you haven't hit that $10,000 mark between materials or design consulting services. So maybe your startup costs are $5,000, but that you can pretty sure that half of your chairs might fall apart, or you're thinking about buying a ton of more plants when a certain type of plants in season or whatever. That waiting until June or July or after you've encumbered those costs would make sense to then apply. It's a lot more difficult for us to do an amendment once we've submitted the application or submitted your loan agreement.
Nick, there's a question from the chat.
Sure.
From Cindy Larson. Could you address the fact that the 6-foot distancing has been dropped and applicants can get more seats, tables potentially due to this change?
Cindy, yeah, great. Thanks for highlighting that. So related to COVID emergency spacing and social distancing, that has been dropped. So there will be, you are able to fit, that you would be able to have more tables and chairs in the outdoor seating area. That's different than what the ADA requirements will be. And I know that you're aware of the ADA requirements for outdoor dining and what that constitutes for having a parklet versus a on sidewalk seating. But yes, related to COVID social distancing, that 6-foot requirement has been dropped. Any other questions? Thanks for the question, Cindy.
I have a question from Joe Carrero, which is pertaining more to the permitting process and license, and I'm not sure if this is the right place.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to have a great answer. I'm sure it's. I welcome the question. And so feel free to ask it. I just don't know how helpful I'll be.
Sure. So Joe says that to accommodate for the bathroom requirement, in the past, what he did was as seats were taken up outside, they would remove seats inside to meet the requirement and regulation for the bathrooms for the capacity of what the restaurant requires. And he says if they were to continue to do that this year, like they have in previous years, would he still need to submit a bathroom plan?
Great question. And something that, again, I don't want to give the wrong information on. And so, I'll bring that question for next week when we do have the conversation. I know that as far as bathroom and occupancy are concerned, your occupancy for your indoor space applies to your entire restaurant. So you know, the limitations on the number of bathrooms you have will limit the number of seats you can have. But again, specifically on what the bathroom, if bathroom calculations are needed or not, in Joe's case, I'll defer to the pros who are in the licensing department to be able to answer that one.
And then another question from a separate restaurant here in Union Square would be if they were to apply for a public outdoor dining seating, but not a parklet, if it was to be on the sidewalk and there was an installation in the way, what are the rules about either not removing it, but maybe possibly shifting it, you know, to a different location within the vicinity?
Great question. Yeah, I haven't heard that one, but it makes sense. I think, like, you know, if you wanted a bike rack moved or a bench, that obviously would involve DPW and there would be a process through that. But again, I don't have a great answer. I think that's something that our, again, licensing team and the folks in ISD and in DPW and engineering could better answer. So sorry, I don't have a better answer.
Thank you, Nick.
Sure. Hey guys, anyone else? Whoop. Not seeing any other questions. You know, so as I mentioned earlier, for folks who may have missed it, but you know, we're happy to talk with anyone on the assistance program that we are offering. I mentioned we are, you know, happy and willing to work with businesses in any sort of predicament related to that and assist if there are businesses that are unable to participate in outdoor dining because of the high upfront cost. We're happy to work with you and we'll, you know, do that on a case-by-case basis. To get that started, you can start by just submitting an application. That way we'll know kind of what we need to discuss and can go from there. And then for the licensing process, as I mentioned earlier, that we'll be able to provide more clarity on that probably next week. And so there will be a similar webinar like this one planned for you know, next week. When we do have those details available, we'll be making an announcement through our economic development newsletter. I'm sure we'll make the announcement through many of our social media channels. So feel free to stay informed that way. We will likely be leaning on our community partners, Union Square Main Streets and East Somerville Main Streets as well. So thank you guys for joining us, as well as the chamber. Let's see, Ron, I see your question. I know you put it to me, but I'm going to share it with everyone else. Are businesses eligible if they received an outdoor dining grant from Somerville last year? The answer, that's a great question. So businesses that did receive an outdoor dining grant last year are, yes, they are eligible to receive an outdoor dining grant this year. So last year we were able to provide $1,000. This year we're providing up to $10,000. So we're excited to be able to assist businesses in that way. Okay. All right. So seeing no other questions, I think I will give you guys back the 20 minutes before 3. I want to highlight for anyone who wants to have a more in-depth conversation or just wants to connect, we have our virtual office hours that will be starting up in 20 minutes. I can share the link for that to register. And that's going to be with members of our city clerk's office, with inspectional services, economic development, just to come. We're setting it up every first and third Thursday. So we'll have one today from 3 to 4. The next one after that will be on April 7th. So, you know, if there's something that you're working on for your business, whether it's an expansion, you're wondering if the zoning allows for you to do a certain, maybe add alcohol or talking about public or private events, this is a great space just to get that question answered. Or maybe your permit's kind of stuck in permit purgatory, or you're not quite sure what you need to do. This is just another great place to connect. We do offer assistance in multiple languages, so please feel free to keep that in mind as well. And yeah, otherwise I will let you guys go. Thanks so much for taking the time, and stay tuned for more for next week about the permitting process for outdoor dining.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.